Standing ovations, once reserved for only the most high calibre of performances, are now part of theatre routine, like having your tickets checked or ordering interval drinks. They are a given. Similar to the service charge that's pre-added to your bill at the end of dinner, it's become a value exchange expected between provider and receiver. Expected, but it should be said, not obligatory. Having been dragged through the funereally long 3.5 hours of London Tide, an adaptation of Charles Dickens' Our Mutual Friend, now at the National Theatre's Lyttelton, aside from a few friends and family, one assumes, it was noticeable just how few people stood as they applauded, which these days takes quite a lot of effort. Which these days says quite a lot. Put aside Oliver and A Christmas Carol, the work of Dickens is supremely difficult to adapt on stage because of his verbosity. Our Mutual Friend was Dickens' last work. Although it has been reappraised in more recent years, at the time critics saw the characters as contrived, the plots forced. Two-pronged challenge. It's clear that writer Ben Power had his work cut out here. He draws on two main narratives. There are many in the book. The first revolves around John Harmon, who is returning to London to receive his inheritance from his estranged father. Receiving the fortune is conditional on him marrying Bella, a poor but hard-faced young lady he has never met. In narrative monologue, one of many, we are told how drugs, theft, murder and mistaken identity led everyone to believe that Harmon had died. The fortune therefore passes on to a stupid, poor employee of Harmon Senior's, Noddy Boffin. Noddy Boffin, the jolly Noddy Boffin, feels guilt at having, as he sees it, gotten in the way of Bella's almost win. So he had found the winning lottery ticket that she had lost. So he invites her to enjoy the riches with him and his wife. This seems to manifest as walking in parks and going to the theatre. Meanwhile, John decides to stay and cleverly disguises himself by doing absolutely nothing to his appearance and changing his surname to Rokesmith. He becomes the tenant at Bella's family home. He becomes the secretary to Noddy Boffin's business, which of course was his father's business. And he falls in love with Bella, this time for real. Meanwhile, as I said, meanwhile, on the other side of London, we have the Haxham family. This is the part of the city we might as well call Dickens' dogs. It's where Fagin lives, a place where the women have hearts of gold and the men simply steal that gold to pay for a tot of gin. Gaffer Haxham trawls the Thames every night and steals money from the corpses he finds there, which he then spends at the pub. His daughter Lizzie is the martyr of the piece. She is blind to the natural beauty and the untapped talent for education that we are told she has. Instead, she spots potential in her brother Charlie. She selflessly, Natch, gives up her entire savings to send him to school. Charlie, however, isn't grateful. He turns against his sister as he wants to rid himself of his past, instead blindly trusting his schoolmaster, the evil Bradley Headstone. Headstone falls in love with Lizzie, begins a battle for her heart. She is so obviously beautiful, after all. Now, you may have some questions.
Is it a love story?
Certainly not.
It's more about money than anything.
Where's Mrs. Haxon? Why is there this condition in the will? Why marry a stranger? And why Bella? Why?
And does it say that money is better than anything?
Why does nobody recognise John, including Noddy Boffin, who proclaims to have looked after him when he was a child? His name is still John.
I really cannot tell you.
I wondered about the answers to these questions.
Find out for yourself for all I care.
I still wonder now. Power does his best to jemmy these two narratives together. He cuts characters, he omits stories, and he makes changes to various plot lines so that they connect more distinctly. He is, however, only partially successful. It's very hard watching this to disagree with the judgment of this character as being contrived and the plot feeling forced and, I would add, quite flimsy. Sadly, the performances don't add the believability that's sorely lacking. Only two characters appear to come from London. I won't name these two, but they're training at the Dick Van Dyke School of Cockney.
All right, ladies and gents, comical poem suitable for the occasion, extemporized and thought up before your very eyes. All right, here we go.
We'll make it audibly clear.
I'm sorry, where was I?
As Harmon, Rokesmith, Tom Mothersdale is quite shifty, always hovering around the edges, has an air of Fagin to him. His shoulders are always hunched and he always seems to be shivering, as though in a bad case of withdrawals, which may be the case. Jake Wood isn't in the play much, doesn't have much to do, but his gaffer is Max Branning on a hangover. Anne Treadray and Brandon Grace, as a brother and sister, Lizzie and Charlie, are creating some familial bond. Neither seem to be able to talk without using their hands. One gesticulating downstage, her, and the other upstage, him. At least they don't clash. Giving a masterclass in the type of overacting not often seen.
I'm losing command. I'm losing the Enterprise. Ship is sailing on and on. I'm alone.
Is Scott Kareem. His portrayal of evil Bradley Headstone involves moving his arms very, very quickly, raising his eyebrows quite a lot.
Captain?
And shouting!
I do for you, Jim.
I said give me the brandy!
His performance veers more towards comedy than threat. But unfortunately it's still way off that mark. Closer to what you may expect from a seasoned amateur.
The imposter is not to be injured.
So it's rather surprising to see this isn't Kareem's first professional work. Perhaps I'm getting wrongly fixated on the actual human characters. Symbolically, the main character in this piece should be clear from the change in its title. In London Tide, London is the eponymous star. The River Thames, its able support. Bunny Christie's design is grand in its industrial, cold, dark sense. There must be 50 or so banks of lights that are raised and lowered over the stage, undulating like the blood of the Thames pumping through the heart of the city. It brings life, but it also washes death upon its shores. This is no loving lament to London. It is a dire, dreary and depressing dirge. It is dark, it is shadowy, it is grey, grey. An important point I have admitted so far is that this is a musical, or at least a musical in the sense that the National Theatre defines it, a play with songs.
And feel the pulse of London. Take me back to her.
The music has a major impact on the tone and atmosphere of the show. How you react to that impact will very much depend upon your appreciation or not for the music of its writer, PJ Harvey. I don't know Harvey, so I looked to Wikipedia. It describes Harvey's musical style as alternative rock, punk, blues, art rock and avant rock. She experiments with electronica, indie rock and folk music. So there we have it. It strikes me the sort of music fans will say only the intelligent get. It's certainly an acquired taste. Watching London Tired just showed me that I'm clearly unintelligent and have a very basic taste. Considering Harvey's eclectic musical influences and range, and there was little to differentiate the 13 numbers here. In fact, to my ear, it could just be a very long one song that they've cut up and paused 12 times so that the action of the play can continue. The songs create the atmosphere of London. From the opening chant where we're shouted at that this is a play about London and death, to another monotone of London is not England, England is not London, comes at us over and over again. At the end of it, we feel being beaten over the heads with this message, just to be forced to accept it. Okay, we get it. London is shit. Now please, can you just let us go home? The songs here interrupt the already meandering plot, or perhaps that's the other way around. The plot here interrupts the already meandering songs. Either way, never have I watched a show where I dread hearing the opening bars and knowing it signals yet another attack at us from the voices on stage. However, the relief as it ends soon disappears, as one realises that means a new scene is about to be trudged through. Again, if you're a fan of PJ Harvey, her music may well make this piece worth seeing. If you're not, for me it was the final, repetitive, endless banging of the last nail in this cumbersome coffin. Dickens wrote Our Mutual Friend 10 years after Charlotte Bronte died. And just next door at the National Theatre's Dorfman, we have another play set in the same time. Underdog, the other Bronte, is a play set in the 19th century. It entertains, it amuses, engages, and it holds our interest. London Tired is a play from the 19th century. And sadly that's where the similarities end.